The National Hurricane Center now highlighting the Western Caribbean for potential tropical development by early next week. I've got all the newest details for you. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. It is fantastic to see you on Wednesday. Hope you're doing well at this midweek hour. Coming up, we're going to talk about some areas that got hammered with some heavy rain and storms on this Wednesday across our area. We'll talk about your island by island rainfall forecast as we push into the weekend. And of course, we're going to deep dive into this area in yellow with a chance of tropical development beginning late this weekend and into early next week. I've got all the newest information and what I'm thinking at the present time. You know, I love to hear from you guys. Appreciate the Meteo Mundo weather community. You guys are awesome. Let me know in the comment section below what's been going on in your area, what the weather has been like. You have a specific question about the forecast, you can drop it in the comment section below as well. Let's get started. Without further ado, we're going to hang out and see what's going on right now in the Lesser Antilles, and we'll start with our friends in the Windward Islands. Thunderstorms are blowing up on this Wednesday afternoon. Trinidad, Port of Spain, portions of Venezuela towards Nueva Esparta. These are some heavy showers and storms. You see the live lightning count here at Meteo Mundo. So we've got some heavier rain. Watch out for some isolated flash flooding in these areas. Trinidad, northern coastline of Venezuela, with some exceptionally high rainfall rates, meaning that it's raining really hard in some spots. We could pick up a quick 50 to 75 millimeters of rain. That's 2 to 3 inches in an hour or so in some of these areas. So it's going to be rainy. It's going to be wet and stormy. Trinidad, Tobago, Nueva Esparta. It's going to try and sneak up towards Trinidad, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where, again, it may not be this localized activity down south, but we've had some heavier rain and storms again for today. We'll start in Barbados, where we have active flood warnings, not just flood watches, but active flood warnings for portions of the islands where we do have some localized flash flooding going on in this area. If you live in Barbados, please stay very weather aware. Again, we have some scattered areas that have had 2 to 3 inches of rain for today, 50 to 75 millimeters. And as these storms were developing earlier on this Wednesday, Banjangle Best sent me this photo of the dark clouds on the eastern side of Barbados. Look at that. Boy, you know that's a tropical environment when it is that dark outside. He said he was on the east side of the island looking north and west, moving in. So Banjangle, thank you very much for that photo. I appreciate you guys. Again, mymetiomundo@gmail.com. I love to show these pictures and videos, especially the day of the recording of this videos, so you guys get a great idea of what it really looks like out there. So I appreciate that. Back over to the weather computer. And again, scattered heavy rain for portions of St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Not everyone is going to get it for today, but there have been some areas of some excessive rainfall. What do you say we throw on the temperatures here? These are going to be in Fahrenheit, and you'll see when these pop on some of the areas that have had some of that rainfall, because of course, obviously, you're going to see temperatures will be a little bit cooler in those spots. So Grenada, again, a little bit of cooler weather down on the southern side of the island, few passing showers there. Portions of St. Lucia, Martinique has been relatively quiet for today, but a couple of isolated showers. Again, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section below. We've had a couple of passing showers in Dominica and a couple trying to develop over Guadeloupe. You get north of there, it gets to be a lot more isolated in nature. There's been a couple of scattered showers up in the Leeward Islands for today, but there just hasn't been nearly as much rain. You can see on the enhanced satellite imagery, no big higher cloud tops out of this. The easterlies continue to bring in a few spotty showers. The big story for Anguilla, St. Bart's and Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda is the heat. Excessive heat warnings continue for some of these areas. Excessive heat warnings continue for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands as well. We're trying to flare up a couple of storms on this Wednesday afternoon to cool things off just a little bit, mainly in the far southwest side of Puerto Rico. Not much else otherwise here from Mayaguez south towards Yauco and just the southwest side of the island. A few scattered showers have popped up. No lightning strikes out of this, but there have actually been a couple of flood advisories on the western side of the island. And again, has there been an isolated shower storm trying to crop up in a couple of other areas in the Virgin Islands and the eastern side of Puerto Rico? Yes, but not really helping out the heat, which again, right now you're looking at feels like temperatures that are well above 100. These are your actual air temperatures for today. So Port-au-Prince Haiti has hit 97 Fahrenheit for a daytime high for today. We're upper 80s, lower 90s across the Dominican Republic, but again, it's a very hot, dry forecast in this area. A few showers could develop late on this Wednesday afternoon, but I'm not expecting a lot. Same situation for our friends in Jamaica. I mentioned it yesterday, just at least in the short term, didn't expect a lot of rain in this area. Temperatures at the hour, again, are pushing lower 90s for air temperatures. Feels like numbers, again, what it feels like when you step outside. We call that the heat index, above 110 in Kingston. That's 43 degrees Celsius or higher. Montego Bay right around 105. But again, not a lot in the way of any relief. Obviously, the yellow area is our potential development area, which we'll talk a lot more about coming up. But just for the short term, I'm going to drop that off. So it's a little bit easier to see a few spotty showers developing across Cuba. They haven't gone gangbusters as of yet at the hour. And it's the same situation across the Turks, the Caicos, and the southern side of the Bahamas towards the Acklins. A passing shower or two, but that's about it. We'll look at the northern side of the Bahamas coming up. My friends in the ABC Islands, hot and dry at the hour as well. No real rain chances there. Thunderstorms developing in the southwest Caribbean. And look, this is a part of that Central American gyre, which is going to start to initiate the chance for some tropical development in the Western Caribbean beginning over the weekend. But we can already start to see a big flare-up of storms. These will try and push west and hit coastal sides of southern Honduras, Nicaragua, into Panama and Costa Rica at the hour. And there's already been a few storms that have been developing in those areas. And again, everything is working inland as well. But it's so darn spotty right now. I mean, you've got some areas with feels like temperatures back in the 70s and 80s. And then you've got some areas like Roatan above 100 to 108, it looked like. Belize City, 114 for a feels like temperature. You're now in the upper 40s Celsius when you're getting that hot. And we're going to try and pop off a couple of storms here to cool things off. But again, it's been relatively drier the last few days in these areas. Storms are trying to develop on the northeast side of the Yucatan. They're moving west towards Campeche and Merida, and a few isolated storms could be over Cancun, Cozumel, and the Tulum areas. Back over to the Bahamas. Looking at the northwest side, again, another relatively active day. It hasn't been as prominent on this Wednesday as it was Monday or Tuesday, especially with the intensity of the storms. Take a look at that. I'll take off the satellite data. You can see storms are developing, but they're just not as robust. They've actually held off until the afternoon hours today compared to some of the heaviest storms in the morning hours of Monday and Tuesday. But now they're beginning to flare up over Andros, New Providence right now. So Andros town, right over the Nassau area, at least some passing showers here for our friends Old Fort Bay, back over towards Paradise Island, trying to get some showers to cool things off here. As you guys have mentioned, when it's not raining and storming, it's been exceptionally hot. Isolated to scattered storms for Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and Eleuthera. And then it'll be much more isolated, Cat Island, San Salvador, Rum Key, Crooked Island, Exuma, back down towards the Acklins, as I've already mentioned. So that's what it looks like across their area on this Wednesday. As we get into the forecast, again, thank you so much for taking just a very brief second and clicking that thumbs up. That's the like button. Thank you for dropping a comment and subscribing. Those are all ways to help the channel grow. And I can't tell you how important it is for us to continue to grow here at Meteo Mundo. We really do appreciate the support. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. You have anyone who you think might get something out of this, especially when we start talking about the tropics, you go, I know someone who lives in those areas. Maybe they'd be interested in watching this video. So thank you for sharing that with those. And thank you for finding ways to support us via our memberships. The super thanks in the description below. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the island by island rainfall forecast over the next few days. Then we are going to deep dive into this area, okay? So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but just kind of chronologically, this is not going to be an impact to our area through Saturday. So the first thing that we're going to do is just kind of take a look at what the weather is going to be like in your area as we get closer to the weekend. So let me bring up the models here and we'll start. Now, you're going to notice that as we get into Saturday, there's going to be a lot more rain here. And we'll talk kind of about the evolution of this developing. Again, the National Hurricane Center is now highlighting the far northwest Caribbean for a 20% chance of development. But generally speaking, when we look at the models, you're looking at the time frame not really trying to kick in until early next week. So over the next few days, not expecting there to be a huge flare-up as far as that goes. Hopefully here the NAM is cooperating, will give us a full run. Might not get into Wednesday again. We've sometimes, let me just do this real quick. just going to drop this off for a half second. Every so often, just bumping this back like this and just bringing this on will allow the full model run. I've noticed that as well. So let me do that, because I want to make sure we go all the way out. So let's try that again, and hopefully we'll get all 3 days to crop up. We'll see. I'm going to let it run one more time here, and if not, that's okay. All right, so instead of going there, I'm going to switch over to the GFS, which is just fine. And I know the GFS had been cooperating because I had looped it up behind the scenes a full week out. All right, NAM might be trying to update. That's fine, no big deal. So again, what we're looking at here is the island by island rain chance. I'm going to start off in our eastern zones. Here's a headline for you. There's not a lot of rain coming, okay? Yes, we've had this shear axis over the Windward Islands that have produced some heavier rain. That's beginning to fade starting tomorrow. And then we're just going to see relatively dry conditions. Look, there's going to be about a 30% chance from Anguilla down to Trinidad and Tobago over the next 3 days. And again, I'll show you the island by island forecast, but there's nothing big coming. There's no big tropical wave coming in. There's no big surge of moisture. Could there be some isolated spots that continue to get some heavier rainfall? Yes, but it is going to be isolated. The bigger story actually through Saturday for the Lesser Antilles is going to be the heat. It's going to be pretty darn hot out there, so get prepared for that. If you have to be outdoors, please take measures to protect yourself, find the shade, drink plenty of water. Spotty showers here. That includes Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. That's about it. Could try and get a little bit more rain, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, for Puerto Rico starting Friday, Saturday, portions of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, but there's still not a lot on the board here as well. Spotty, heavier rain. Widespread, no. We had excessive heat warnings for today across Puerto Rico. I expect those to continue as well. Again, air temperatures should reach the lower 90s in Fahrenheit in a lot of spots, and feels like numbers could be above 110 Fahrenheit. Again, that's your heat index, and that's above 43 degrees Celsius. We'll try and improve the rain chances in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, but they're not going to be exceptionally high as well. They're just east of that thicker moisture in the Western Caribbean, so spotty showers for Punta Cana, Santo Domingo, Port-au-Prince, Lacay, Puerto Plata, Santiago de los Caballeros as well. Again, isolated heavier rain, but nothing extremely prominent. For the central, southeast Bahamas and their Turks and Caicos, same thing, isolated to scattered showers. We're going to improve the rain chances a little bit here, especially in the central Bahamas beginning Friday and into Saturday. So places like Cat Island, in Exuma, in Eleuthera, places like that, a little bit better chance than what you've had, and the rain chances will still stay decent in the northwest Bahamas. There'll be flare-up of showers and storms from time to time. I've got the rain chances still relatively high here, from Walker's Key to Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, New Providence, and Andros, certainly higher than the central and the southeast sides of the islands. Back over here, and again, let me just drop off the area here because it's just easier to see. I think the best thing to do is just look at it as a whole and then zoom into certain areas. So here's the bottom line. This Central American gyre and the moisture associated with it will just become more prominent each and every day through the weekend. Rain chances will just continue to build in these areas. Then the question is, do we develop a low-level center of circulation and get ourselves a depression or a storm out of this? There is some upper level dynamics that'll be coming into play. We actually have a trough that'll be digging into the southern side of the Gulf of Mexico with a potential cutoff low, and that could aid in the lift in the atmosphere and beginning some vorticity going on as well. But in the shorter term, for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, rain chances begin to go up, and up for our friends in Jamaica, which I know you guys are desperate for. Now, there's not a huge chance still for tomorrow, but rain chances will improve Friday and Saturday. Take a look at the rain coming in. This is on Saturday, and you can see that really building in and into Sunday as well. So the bottom line is, tomorrow, Friday, okay chances, later Friday, but Saturday, Sunday should be wetter. But you guys are still on the far eastern side of where the heaviest rain will more than likely fall. And that would include our friends in the Cayman Islands. Now look, this is just kind of taking you through portions of Sunday, but the rain chances will go even higher in these areas into early next week. So if you're looking for some rain in the Cayman Islands, Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac, we're talking about rain chances going up and up here. And then we'll just have to discuss potentially down the road the opportunity for some excessive rainfall in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and Cuba and portions of the Yucatan and the northern sides of Central America, right? Because now we're going to start to get really wet in these areas here beginning late weekend and into early next week. So the biggest thing in the short term is widespread heavy showers and storms. There'll be some gusty winds from time to time, but we're not expecting this to develop into anything tropical, at least through Sunday. Let's go island by island. Rain chance time. Northwest Bahamas, next few days. 60% chance Thursday, Friday, 50 on Saturday. Central and Southeast Bahamas rain chance to actually go up a bit, as I mentioned, especially on Friday and Saturday. If you've been looking for some rain, hope you get some. Turks and Caicos will still be on the isolated side. Cuba's rain chances just go higher and higher and higher. It's just going to start to get wet in this area. Same thing for the Cayman Islands. Still just a 30% chance tomorrow, but by Saturday, we're up to an 80% chance, and I expect those elevated rain chances at least through Monday in the Cayman Islands. Maybe even a little bit deeper in the next week, depending on how that system develops. Belize City, we're going up 50 tomorrow, 60 Friday, 80 on Saturday. Cancun and Cozumel also begins that upward trend, getting up to a 70 on Saturday. Here comes Jamaica, 30 tomorrow, 50 Friday, up to 70 on Saturday. It'll get a little bit better in the Dominican Republic. It'll still be more scattered than widespread, but 50 on Friday, Saturday. Puerto Rico's rain chances should be a little bit TP'd on Friday, meaning that they'll have the highest chance there, and then they'll fall back down on your Saturday. U.S. and British Virgin Islands stay with some decent rain chances, 40 to a 50% chance, certainly better than what we've had. Bermuda's rain chances are still fairly spotty, a little bit better chance on Saturday. Then you go farther east, okay, and you're going to see a little bit lower chance. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, St. Bart's, places like that. It's just about a 30% chance each and every day, meaning that there'll be localized showers and storms, but nothing extremely widespread to really beat the heat. There'll be pockets of heavier rain, but that's about it. And again, rain chances are not high for Antigua and Barbuda the next few days. Same thing for Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica. As we get Martinique south, there's just a little bit more moisture overall to play with, so there'll be a little bit higher chances. But it's not going to shock me if there's portions of Martinique and St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines that do not see a drop of rain over the next 3 days. It's just not widespread. Let me know in the comment section if you've had some of this. Barbados, despite the fact we've had some flood watches and a flood warning today, rain chances will begin to fall there. 40 tomorrow, 30 Friday, Saturday. Same thing for Grenada. We'll stay with a slightly higher chance in Trinidad and Tobago. And again, these areas could see some heavier rain from time to time. Same thing for Suriname and Guyana. Nueva Esparta had some decent rain for today, but it's still relatively isolated. And the ABC Islands will be very lucky to catch a couple of showers here through Saturday afternoon. Let's look at the rainfall on the European model over the next 7 days. You're going to clearly see what I was mentioning here as this loops up real-time animation and then pauses at the end of the 7 days. It's very easy to see where we're going to be seeing that developing system right here in the northwest side of the Caribbean. And you are looking at some spots now that are 6 to 8 inches of rain, mainly in the open waters, but that's 150 to 200 millimeters of rain. Here are the Cayman Islands. They're well in the red, 4 or 5 inches of rain, 100 to 125 millimeters. We're starting to see the European model bring in higher chances here. Remember, for Jamaica, by the way, remember that on this developing side, the east side is going to be wetter. So we could try and push some of the heaviest rain as far east as Jamaica in the eastern sides of Cuba, maybe as far north as the Turks and the Caicos and Southeast Bahamas. The cut or the slice of drier air would be on the western side, so we may not have as much rain in portions of the Yucatan and the north side of Central America as far west as we're going to see some of the heaviest rain as far east. Obviously, it's kind of lopsided with the heaviest rain on the eastern side, but there could still be some exceptionally high rainfall totals for portions of Central America. I'll be monitoring that. Again, some heavier rain that could potentially spread over into the Bahamas. And we do have our drier air, greater Antilles, lesser Antilles in general, with just not as much rain in these areas here. Obviously, it's about the Central American gyre and that potential developing system, which is why we're bullseyeing this spot on the map. Wave heights and direction. You know, we still have the remnants of Gordon out there on the central side of the Atlantic. Not much to talk about. Again, it's not going to impact anyone. You can see a surge of some waves coming down the United States East Coast. And then if you look into the Gulf of Mexico, this model, by the way, is based off of the GFS, the wave height and direction model here that I'm showing you. Wave Watch 2 is what it's called. We'll get into this more, but from the GFS model for the waves, you're going to see these flare up in the Northwest Caribbean and then really become prominent in the eastern Gulf of Mexico and then moving up the east coast of the United States, where we could have some double-digit wave heights associated with a developing tropical system. So now it's time to get into those particulars. So we're going to first of all look at the GFS model, and I'm going to take it out into time. We'll go a full week. Probably even a little bit longer than that, actually. And then we're going to look at the ensemble members of both the GFS and the European models as well, okay? And we'll look at the wind associated with this. So again, just after yesterday's video, and I mentioned that we were just beyond the 7-day time frame for the Hurricane Center when I recorded the video yesterday. Well, the 8 o'clock Eastern update said, hey, look, we're now highlighting this area, okay? So all is on track. All the thinking of the video that I did yesterday is still what I'm thinking for today. And I've actually made a graphic about what I'm thinking, and we'll go over that as well. But this is the area that we're going to be next monitoring for a potentially named storm, which would be Helene. So let's talk about how this could play out. So I'm going to again take away just this development zone. It's a 20% chance right now. Look, that's just going to go higher and higher the closer in time that we get. On the GFS model, again, it's still a very sloppy system through the weekend. You can see that the rain really begins to spread into Jamaica and Cuba and the Cayman Islands and the northern side of Central America and the Yucatan on Sunday. That's when I think we really start to turn the corner as far as potential development. Now, it does look like the development would be potentially in the far northwest side of the Caribbean or the southern side of the Gulf of Mexico. It just depends on how quickly it might look to spin up, which means that places like Jamaica more than likely are not going to get direct impacts by this developing storm as it's moving north. You should get the rain and the squally weather and the wind, but at this point in time, a true system developing right over you looks to be unlikely. We'll have to watch out for the Cayman Islands and the western side of Cuba and the Yucatan and then into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Now on the GFS, again, the 22nd is Sunday. It's going to be in that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame for potential development. And on the newest run of the deterministic GFS, the main GFS model, it does develop a system off the west coast of Florida. Again, on the ensemble products, the spread of potential tracks and intensity are still all over the place. This is kind of more up the center line of the GFS. So the deterministic is kind of taking the center line of the ensembles, and we'll look at that. But there could still be anywhere from the western side of the Gulf of Mexico into the Bahamas for this to move, and at what intensity as well. All of that is still in the weeds. We're still way too far out to be discussing it. We'll certainly look at the models and what they're showing, and some of them do have a relatively intense storm. So, I don't want to discount it, but as far as saying this is going to be this and it's heading here, you guys know we're way too far out. By the way, GFS tries to spin up a little something near Bermuda, which is why the surf from the seas were kicked up there. I'll be monitoring that, but and that would be a hybrid non-tropical system actually dropping south. But anyway, you can clearly see here on the GFS, and we'll just take a look at this real quickly just to show you guys. When we look at the winds here, and again, I can query these. So over the Cayman Islands on Tuesday evening, you would have just a broad wind field, sustained winds, by the way, of around 30 miles an hour. The GFS would be trying to develop this over the western tip of Cuba, maybe just off the Florida Keys into the dry Tortugas, right about there on Tuesday. But it's still extremely broad, and nothing has really gotten it crazy ramped up by Tuesday. But as we get into Wednesday, we start to see it wrap up, and then into Thursday, and just deeper into the week, right? Now we have a true system out here, and even wrapped up a little bit stronger late next week. So looking at this, again, you would have a tropical storm here, right? Now, there are others that make this a lot stronger, but you would have a named storm in the eastern Gulf of Mexico out of the GFS. But just a very broad wind field. Again, Jamaica, probably just away from it, but the Cayman Islands and portions of the Yucatan, right on the coast, Cancun, Cozumel, back down towards Chetumal, even Belize City, would be dealing with some really squally, wet, windy weather through early next week as this system moves. And again, if this impacts over land, it might take some time to develop. Looks like the GFS has it kind of coming off of the tip of the Yucatan and then strengthening a bit. The other interesting thing is that there's the potential that this skirts across North Florida and actually gets stronger here on the deterministic model of the GFS. Let's look at the ensemble members of the GFS. So now we're looking at the 51 different members, and I've really slowed down this loop. So here you go into Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Again, the deterministic is right here, and you can see that there is still a wide spread on the ensembles. Some of them are faster over Florida or the far western side of the Atlantic, nearer the Bahamas, and moving northeast. Others really slow it down and trying to develop a system very slowly in the south central Gulf of Mexico. Take a look at it again. This is Tuesday, first signs right in that area. Some of the quicker ones are moving either due north across West Florida or over the northwest Bahamas and then skirting up the east coast. And then you've got a couple here that really slow things down into next Friday and try and develop a very strong storm but push it west. There's going to be a cutoff low developing here, and does somehow that storm want to go west along with that? There's so much to still play into, and I just want you guys to notice one more time on this loop how widespread the ensemble members are. There's not a lot to latch on to except for the fact there does look to be a developing storm here, but intensity and track is obviously still very much up in the air. But anywhere in this area, we need to start paying very close attention as we go through next week. Here's the European models. Again, developing Monday, Tuesday with the first signals. So not until early next week. The European models are farther west compared to the GFS members. They're almost all in the Gulf of Mexico. So Florida would be kind of the eastern side of the envelope of the ensemble members right now, and it's all the Gulf Coast that would bear more watching. So there is differences still in the European, the GFS, obviously with intensity, but obviously as well in where this tries to move the system as it develops, as it lifts off towards the north, all right? Again, potentially we do get a depression in the Northwest Caribbean. Maybe it waits until it gets into the southeast or south central Gulf of Mexico, but both the GFS and the European have this becoming a stronger and stronger storm the farther north that it goes. And again, time frame would be just through the week ahead, all right? So here's what I'm thinking, simple as that. I think there's a very high chance we're gonna get a large area of rain and storms developing in the Northwest Caribbean this weekend, with significant rainfall impacts for some of those areas, okay? There's at least a moderate chance, even as of right now, and if the trends continue, I would elevate this to a high chance that we're gonna get a tropical depression or a storm in the Northwest Caribbean or the Southeast Gulf of Mexico by early next week. All the models continue to show that. They've been very consistent on that the last 4 days now, and the Hurricane Center is now beginning to highlight that area. There's no reason to back off of that thinking as of now. So that's a moderate chance in my book. But what I'm not sure of right now, no one's really sure of, is the strength in the track if that tropical system does develop and what potential impacts it could bring. So that's the things that we need to monitor. But again, in the areas that I highlighted, northwest side of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico, potentially even into the Bahamas, in the eastern sides of Florida and up the United States East Coast. These are all areas we have to keep a very close eye for that developing system. Friends, I appreciate you guys so much. You can follow us across all of social media. Really have had some big growth in TikTok. Meteo Mundo is our handle there. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on X, Facebook, just like our friends who have sent us pictures and videos lately. If you'd like to do so as well, to use in these YouTube videos, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Again, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop in the comments section below. Appreciate while you're down there liking this video and subscribing to Meteo Mundo if you want these daily forecast updates across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You have a great rest of your Wednesday. You know I'll be back tomorrow with all the newest information. Until then, have a great one, and I'll see you soon right here.